Okay, so I hope that you can hear me right now. So welcome to the Pearson English Assessment Teacher Training Academy. And the session is interactive, so great that you can hear me. There is this very gentle button at my mic, so even if I touch it really gently, it just mutes off. So in case there is an element, the issue with sound, do let me know. And since people are joining, the first question, the first icebreaker. So my aim was to have a different icebreaker every session. So this time the icebreaker is because we're going to talk about mindset. What's your mindset spirit animal for today? And please explain why. Okay. So think about your mindset. And if you were to describe mindset as an animal, so give a name to this animal and tell me why. Because my mindset is this image that you just see. So I'm stuffed gazelle when it comes to Monday because I was like quite anxious, but I was doing my stuff gently and slowly, like gazelle eating. But at the same time, I was stuffy, like a super happy inside because of this Teacher Training Academy webinar. And I'm really honest with you, I just enjoy it and I truly love it. I'm an eagle, okay? So because the animal is very powerful. I'm a whale, okay? I feel underwater. I would be a dog, a wolf, protecting and taking back. Great, a dove. I'm curious as a cat, Carlos, okay? A butterfly, Aleida. So why butterfly, okay? Is a cute dog, Oslem, okay. The elephant is so smart. I'm a friendly dog. And I'm an eagle. So an owl because I'm quiet and observant. I'm a cat, a bit lazy, Sharena, and that's perfectly okay. Just get comfy in your laziness. Mindset of a cat, curious and caring. I'm an early bird. Great. So we're gonna talk about mindset today, and I truly appreciate your feedback you shared with me last time. So I guess in 2026, I'm gonna make the sessions a bit longer. Loyal as a dog is a bird, lazy cat. So if you find this analogy, an icebreaker interesting, just copy this icebreaker and just implement it straight on into your next lesson, language lesson, and let your students discover their own spirit animal. Okay. Okay. So we are in the then develop series. So this is the second section on growth mindset, and I'm gonna be doing the final one on feedback. So this is like developing the soft skills, but I truly believe, and my vision of the Teacher Training Academy is not only about the question types. It's also about developing skills, the teaching skills, but it's like sometimes going beyond if we want to make a difference. Then we'll have the teach. The teach series, and the last one we're gonna have the provoke series. So very question type oriented. So the growth mindset today, and this is the 1 year project. So every webinar you'll get a feedback form, and I owe you one extra takeaway from the curiosity. So you'll get 2 takeaways from this session and from the previous session. And the certificate will be given to those people who complete the series. So the develop series. So there's one certificate for IT series, and one certificate for provoke series. And for those who attend a minimum of 7 sessions altogether, no matter what the sessions, by the end of the year, we'll make a calculation and we'll be distributing the credit badge. A little bit about me. So if it's the first time that we see each other, I'm a former teacher. That's my 11th year with Pearson, I think, or 12th. Time flies. Time flies. And I used to be in the sales, in the business development. But from the very beginning, I wanted to be in the training team because I used to be a teacher, once a teacher, always a teacher. And then I gradually developed my coaching skills, the crisis intervention, and the psychology of motivation. So I'm very into the workshop style, and I do individual trainings and the group trainings, and I do adore safe mountain biking and swimming if time allows. But this is where I charge my batteries. So the growth mindset, it's gonna be, it seems popular, but my intention for you is like by the end of this webinar, you'll be able to define, and I'm sure you know a lot about, because it's been immensely popular, and sometimes it's a trap, this growth mindset popularity. Then we'll talk about the self-fulfilling prophecy, because it's quite important when it comes to language education. And I hope to leave with you several strategies, and I hope that you will take at least one to implement in your language learning reality, just to transfer the knowledge and to show your students, well, the beauty of growth mindset, the beauty and the challenge and the struggle of growth mindset. So the first question that I have, and I would appreciate if you could share your thoughts. When was the last time you tried something difficult and you didn't succeed? Okay, right away. And then what did you do next? So you were trying to do something on Saturday, okay, Denislava. Yesterday, okay. And so if you didn't succeed, it could be a failure, but what did you do next? Okay, so what was the follow-up? I don't give up. I tried again. Keep trying. I would reflect on what would improve. Have somebody take a break and try to climb again, Paul. Great when you take a break, especially when you hit a wall. It's good. So I'm doing the creative workshops from time to time, and taking a break, if you reach at that point, it's really important. You changed some ingredients, Marta, and it worked away. So you implemented some changes. Then I searched and never gave up. So there was quite a lot of like not giving up. Okay. And the next question, what was something you're good at now that you weren't always good at? So if you could name the activity that you would consider yourself, is going to be very subjective, of course, that you think you are good at right now, but English, sign language, grammar, Pravinder, listening skills. I always failed at school, the beauty. And we're going to talk about failures today. Cooking, so I hope that now you're enjoying your meals. Great. Maria, gym, and Olena, lesson planning. That's okay not to be good at lesson planning, and that's perfectly okay to develop. I'm a very good at running, Claire. Okay, so at some point we need to start work scheme, swimming, Marcella in my case, and pronunciation, Antonella. So sometimes it's good to go back in time and see what has changed in our time management, and yeah, and there are endless trainings about time management, and so on, so on. Thanks a lot for your thoughts and your ideas and your experience you're sharing with me. So we are moving straight on into self-fulfilling prophecy, and I'm going to share with you two wonderful pieces of research that's been done, and they are one of maybe they are not the famous, but they are among the top classic research, and they show the beauty of human behavior, they show the beauty of consequence, and they show the beauty of a belief. Now imagine that, as we all are teachers, imagine that we are starting the new group next semester, like in 3 months or in a month time, whatever we want to have. And this is the group. So you get this information that you'll have 25 students, level intermediate, and there was a language learning ability test, and the group scored in the highest section. So in general, you'll have a very talented and diligent students. So and take it for granted. Okay, there is no trap here. Just imagine that you get this information from the director of studies. This is your group. These are the people you'll be working with for the next year. I wish to have 25. I usually get 50, Eduardo. Okay, so I keep fingers crossed for 50 classroom management. So this is the group. And right now, pick any theme that you see on the slide and tell me, what kind of test would you administer to this group? What kind of feedback? What's your motivation? And how do you feel about the group's motivation towards learning? You can take any any theme. Okay, you can take one point and tell me. So imagine that you have it, and what kind of tests, what kind of feedback you would administer. How would you describe your motivation? How would you describe group's motivation? So make a description. So what kind of test would you do? So debating, okay? And what kind of feedback would you give? And how would you describe group's motivation? Is it high or low? And what's your motivation towards this group? Personal skills and resources. So Vanessa, you would go for peer feedback. Projects, okay. Peer introduction activity, Sharena, okay. How would you describe your motivation towards working with this group? Is it high, low, medium? Clear feedback every time, high, constructive, high, always high, challenges you face, group motivation. And yep. So now a bit different story. Just let's remove the previous group and imagine that this is the situation. This is the scenery. So you've got a new language group, the same level, but the language learning ability test shows something different. That the group scored in the lowest section, and you'll have like students that some of the teachers are not willing or think of not getting, so very low aptitude. Okay, and the same. Think about scenario. What kind of test would you administer to this group? What kind of feedback would you give to this group? Clear instruction with fun games. Say, okay, same as previous. That resembles my students, okay? Guided reading, okay? I would go Eduardo for more games. Julia, same as previous, okay? How would you describe your motivation towards working with this group? Honestly. Eduardo, high. Always high. Guided speaking test, Mofat. Not so high. Thanks a lot. So we were partially successful, but actually we managed to recreate whenever I do this activity in a form of live workshops. And I had groups. We cannot do the breakout rooms here because of the big amount of audience. But this was the famous experiment administered by Rosenthal, psychologist, and his colleague. She used to be Leonor, principal of a primary school in San Francisco. And they conducted the test before the semester and measuring IQ. And they informed the teacher who was going to teach the class that 20% of your students, so they say like Tatevik, Francis, Anna, Eduardo, so the Rosenthal was pointing, these are the intellectual boomers. It means that they will be diligent. So you will be dealing with gifted students. Just I'm letting you know that you'll be dealing with gifted students. And just they went on teaching those students, and the researcher came back, I guess it was after around 8 months, and they conducted the test again, and they saw that actually those 20 students actually produced and performed in a way that the progress was the most visible. So they performed better than the rest of the group. However, there was a slight trap in this experiment. And can you guess the trap? Because some of you might know this experiment and some of you might guess what the trap or a trick that Rosenthal decided to introduce. That actually, okay, I'm looking in the chat. Their age? No, that was the same age. But actually, those 20% of students were selected at random. They didn't score any different, and they were not highly They were not highly gifted students. They were just random students. And the Rosenthal pointed at them at random, just completely guessings. But what happened when they started talking to the teachers about the school performance, about the education protocols, etc., it seemed that they were doing things in a slightly different manner as compared with the rest of the class. So what they discover is like they were designing a more flourishing climate for those intellectual boomers. The feedback was a bit different, and they were showing more exposure to challenges, that they were confident, like try harder, offering them more opportunities to perform well. And of course, the most important predictor of student success was their own effort and their own work that they were putting in work, of course. But it seemed that the teachers' reaction were facilitating this type of specific behavior for their student. Okay, so it was one of the first experiment conducted, Pygmalion effect, of course, Lilan, that demonstrated the existence of self-fulfilling prophecy. And the second one, Rosenthal just conducted another experiment before, it's called about intelligent rats. So students were getting rats, and the idea was to teach them to perform, to go through a labyrinth. And the students were informed that the part of the rats are very special and gifted. They are from the special intelligent family, if we can call them, but they were just in reality usual rats. But it seems that students, believing that they have those special and gifted rats, were more patient towards this rat and offering them more chances to learn the labyrinth in a different way. So that's why the rats were performing slightly better. And another interesting experiment I wanted to mention was this conversation with an attractive person. That was a really nice one. So a group of male students, they were told that they will be having a phone conversation with a female colleague. Okay, and the female colleagues, women, they had a script on what to talk about. However, the men's group was divided in half, and some of them were shown a photo of a really beautiful girl. Of course, the beauty is subjective, but it was the experiment, so I'm just referring to the experiment. And half of the group were given a photo that, let's say, your speaker will be of average beauty or below average beauty. And just the picture didn't matter because, well, all them didn't know what kind of woman they were talking to. The pictures were just selected to divide the group of students. Yeah, so one of them were talking to a beautiful girl, and the other group was talking to an average girl. And those phone conversations were recorded. And then what happened? They took the recording and they removed the male's part of the recording. So they left only the voice of all the women who were talking in this conversation. And they presented half of this recording, only the women's voice, to the people who were not aware of this experiment. What were they testing? And the researchers asked those jury board to tell if they think what they think, if the woman they listen to is attractive or not attractive. And it turned out that most of them were super accurate at defining if this woman was attractive or not attractive by not seeing her, but by just listening to what she was saying. And then they showed them this male's voice, yeah, just male part of the conversation with the same question. And the jury was asked if they knew if those men were talking to an attractive colleague or not attractive colleague. And at the same time, the jury were quite accurate at predicting and saying, yes, he was talking to an attractive female partner. And can you guess the reason why they were able to name accurately if this was an attractive person or an average person, and the man was talking to attractive The voice showed confidence. Flaka, thanks a lot. Yes. Anything else? The tone, Miriam? Yes. So because of the fact that they installed a belief, those men were behaving in a different way. They were very open in conversation. The humor was present. They were asking, let's say, more open-ended question. And just because of the fact that those women who had script, but it was not 100% controllable, but they had to follow the script, because of the fact that the men were reacting, behaving in a different way, they started to behave in a different way. So the beauty of self-fulfilling prophecy, and currently we have around 300 studies of this confirming the phenomenon of self-fulfilling prophecy. So it do exist. So basically, this is the definition. So the self-fulfilling prophecy is like you create a hypothesis about something. Usually this hypothesis is not accurate. And then because of this hypothesis, you initiate a behavior that will confirm this hypothesis. Okay? So it looks like you're living in a block of flats and you see like, there's this next door neighbor and he's bald, big, and has pit bull. And I think he's an aggressive man. So I'm going to check it next time when he walks the dog. So I'm going to throw a stone at this dog. So I'm throwing a stone at this dog and this guy is attacking me. And then I say to myself, I knew it. He's an aggressive person. So self-fulfilling prophecy, I initiate the behavior and this behavior confirms my hypothesis. There are several elements that you need to remember about the self-fulfilling prophecy or hypothesis if it can be effective. So first of all, there needs to be a contact between the person and the other person that is usually it's usually the source of this, the target of this hypothesis. Secondly, there needs to be some kind of advantage. For example, teacher, student, parent, child, boss, and subordinate. So one of the person is in this position of advantage and can influence the other. The third one, some hypotheses are easier to defend than the others. And the last one, it's negative bias, because there is a greater tendency to confirm negative hypotheses and run away from this situation. Because if I discover that this is a lazy person, then I don't want to engage in contact with this lazy person again. So it's unlike the positive hypothesis. Then there is a tendency to check from time to time if he's a hardworking student. But once I have the hypothesis and I confirm because of my behavior that he's a lazy person, I have a tendency to back away from this situation and not to check this situation again. So that please remember about this self-fulfilling prophecy, because sometimes it could play the role and it could encourage students to behave in a certain way, depending on what you believe in. It's not 100% responsibility because they are truly responsible for their own actions, but the way you speak to them matters. Okay, so this is the first one. The second one, let's move into the school, primary school, and let's talk about entity beliefs and incremental beliefs. And there's this wonderful research, and I'm sure you know her. And what we know that as children grow, if you have a kid at home or you are teaching or you have contact with primary students, and when you ask them about intelligence, they develop their own naive theories of intelligence. So they tell you that, okay, I'm intelligent. I got it from my mama. I got it from my daddy, and the skills run in my family. So all of us are good at specific subject, maths of languages, etc., etc. Some of them believe that it's been like genes, transferable, and it's like a present, and some of them believe it's like very it's possible to modify. It's very elastic, but they build their own theories. And Carol Dweck, so I'm sure you know it, and if not, I'm sure you'll be reading a lot about her. Worth reading. She observed that especially when students face challenges, it's possible to divide them into the two groups. One of them are called, let's go, helpless children, and the other one is called resourceful children. And there was a difference in the way of thinking. There is a difference in the way of behaving, especially when they experience failures. And now you'll see a table. So you've got those entity beliefs. So the entity beliefs, it means that, oh, I'm fixed in stone, you cannot change me. Incremental beliefs are the ones that, okay, I can change, I can develop. So I want you to look at those categories: goals, reaction to difficulty, emotional reaction, source of difficulty, motivation. And let's take entity beliefs. Let's take those students who think that they cannot change. How do they see goals? How do they react to difficulty? Okay, and what's their reaction, emotional reaction, and what's the reason of this difficulty? If you could type in the chat. Entity beliefs, it means you cannot change them. Yeah, just they say like, there's no point in trying to do it because, well, that's the way it is. That's the way I've been created, and you cannot do much, really. No one in my family has ever mastered present perfect continuous. Sorry. Trying will be futile. So entity beliefs, I cannot change. How do those people perceive goals? So goal for them is what? They don't set goals, okay? The goals are unreachable. Obstacle, okay? If the goal is passing an exam, students observe others and categorize themselves as successful or failure. Thanks a lot. Unattainable. Great. So what's their emotional reaction if they experience a challenge? How do they react? If you could name the emotion. There is lack of motivation. Difficulty is enemy. Sadness, disappointment. They panic. Demotivated. Frustrated. Yes, they give up. And if you ask them, what is the source of difficulty? What can you hear? And this is really important. If you ask them about the source of difficulty, they don't know how to do it. I cannot do it. Fate, beautiful. Thanks a lot. Fear, lack of trust. That's what you get when you shape entity beliefs. Please remember, this is important. The goal for them is to meet the requirements, to score 90, to get an A, nothing else. When they experience a challenge, they usually say, I'm helpless. I wish I could do it, but I cannot do it, basically. And difficulty for them is something, either a threat or a loss. And as you correctly pointed out, there is a sadness, anger, tension. Really important thing to remember, the source of difficulty for them is lack of skills. If you just ask them what is the reason, that they're likely to say like, I simply don't have it. That's the way it is. That's the way the life. That's the way my structure is formed. And the motivation is external and the perseverance is small. Now have a look at the difference that comes from those who were named as incremental beliefs. For them, goal, and this is huge difference, is not to meet the requirement, but to learn something new. No one is telling that the score is not important here. Score is important, but the goal above for them is like, okay, I'm gonna learn something. Whenever there is a challenge, they seem to look for resources. And another one that I put in the bold for you to remember, when you ask them what is the source of difficulty, they're likely to say, I haven't studied enough. Maybe if I could spend an extra hour or two, the result would be way better. So especially in situation when there is a challenge. So those two things, those two types will react in a different way. And when you go in life and they grow up and they attend school when no one is addressing this mindset, they have maybe parents that provide the mindset. Of course, parents do shape the reality, but education shapes the reality as well. So they perceive, how can you change the source of motivation? By, I would start Marcel, by offering exposure to different strategies, and by presenting the different strategies, and by presenting evidence-based knowledge. And you'll have several strategies in forthcoming slide. So first of all, they look at themselves in a different way, especially when they fail. So when this entity belief student experience failure, he or she says, I am not good enough. I am lacking something which is in me, in personality. And if I lack something as a person, it means that I will do my best to stay away from every situation that will put my personality to the test. So if you get a student and with this 100% entity beliefs, and this person fails the test, because everything is super clear when they experience success. Now everyone is happy, because the success for them means I am perfect as a person. The failure for them means I am not perfect as a person, because I lack something, as if I had like 91% and 9% is missing. So I'm gonna sabotage the next performance. Either I'm gonna be sick, or I'm gonna say that the lesson is not interesting, or I'm gonna say that this theme is stupid, or this grammar is not useful. So I'm gonna do everything so that my lack of skills will not be visible. And then they look differently at other people. So for example, there is a classroom and someone opens the door and he stumbles and just throws down books on the floor. So if I have these entity beliefs, I look at this person and I build, looking at the situation, the characteristic of his personality, what a clumsy person he is. Okay, and this characteristic have a tendency to stick. So those entity beliefs, they don't take situational circumstances under consideration. And there is a difference in stereotypes, because entity and incremental beliefs, they all know stereotypes. But entity beliefs usually like listening to the information confirming the stereotype, because it's safe for them. And incremental belief usually prefer to listen and learn about something which is new for them. So this is the result when you shape the entity or incremental beliefs. And of course, the name Carol Dweck and the other group of researchers, this is the famous fixed mindset and the growth mindset reality. So I cannot change it. I'm like a stone, like a castle. So I'm going to be avoiding challenges if I fail, because I don't want to show that I lack something as a person. And there is a tendency for this person to give up easily and to come up with all the excuses because of the to justify giving up. So the growth mindset, this is one of the main misconceptions. So it's not only about trying hard. This is like some people believe that growth mindset is about trying hard. Growth mindset is about strategic effort and being responsive to feedback and being persistent. So these are the key ingredients about the growth mindset element. So trying hard is just a small part. The next one is like being very responsive to feedback and being very persistent and being eager to implement changes in the process of learning and the process of experimenting. So this is the point, another interesting. So you'll be dealing with students, and this is the session is not only about the students, but it's also about you and your own mindset. So you can attempt to change it only on condition that you will discover that this mindset is limiting you. If you think that this mindset is true for you, or if a student thinks that this mindset is true for them, and this is right to believe so, you won't change it, basically. You can try, you can do 100 strategies, but you need to see the limiting effect of this type of mindset, and as a first step, to change it. And now something to remember, because there are 6 situations what I want you to pay really close attention to when you'll be listening to what your students say. And these are the situations I want you to pay extra attention when you'll be listening to what you are saying to yourself. And these are the situations that usually give the mindset, okay? You don't have to ask specific questions. You just need to be extra careful, like this radar, when you experience, or when your students will be experiencing this type of situation. When the task, when you'll be of high value, so something that is important to you or to your student, like exam preparation. When they will be dealing with something which is challenging, so it's not easy to go through. When, for example, you'll be talking to them and they will be evaluating, or you'll be evaluating your progress, and you'll be saying, oh, Tony, this is the percentage, this is the amount you did okay, you not did okay. So listen to what they say. Pay attention to what they say, or what do you say to yourself when you make mistakes, okay? Or when you experience criticism or praise. So for example, when you're giving good words, when you're praising your students, or when you're sharing critical remarks about their performance. And at the same time, when you listen about the success of your fellow teachers, or when you listen about the success or failures of your fellow teachers, the same with students, when they listen about the successes and failures of other people. So these are the situations that I want you to remember and pay attention. What do they say? It will usually signal if they are closer to growth or fixed mindset. So they'll be saying like, I'm not just good at it, forget about it. Oh, this person, it's no wonder that he's so good at IT and artificial intelligence. He's lucky, or he's been born like this, and all the people know about it. So they will give you hints if there is a chance for you to try and talk and modify these elements. And moving into this language learning reality, these are the things that you can do. Of course, please feel free to modify them. Please feel free to edit them, experiment, join them together, because there is no one gold strategy. You need to experiment to find the ones that might be good for your language learning reality. First one is like the 6 commandments. You can print it out and you can say, listen, class, these are the 6 commandments that usually people with fixed mindset, they usually fall in these 6 categories. When they are about to perform something difficult, they usually think, if I have it or if I don't have it. If I have it, it's going to be super easy. If I don't have it, it's going to be the worst activity for me, and it's going to be boring, stupid, and I'm not going to go for it. When they will look at efforts and all the efforts will be perceived in a negative way, they will have perfectionist standards. Mistakes either will be minimized or will be magnified. It'll be like a catastrophe, the total disaster of my life because of a failed grammar test. When they will be listening to critical remarks and when they will be comparing. And you say like, these are the things that some people believe. In my classroom, I want you to be in the second category. So I want you to be judging yourself very holistically. So I want you to evaluate your skills every time, what you have that you could use in this situation. Every effort you make, I want you to be treated in a positive way, because 10% effort is still 10% effort. 1% is also good. I truly understand, because I've been in exam preparation courses, that score is important. Yes, sometimes you need to score 90% because the education is like this. But it doesn't say that you shouldn't appreciate 1% effort. Maybe it's everything you can do at this very moment. Instead of minimizing mistakes, I want you to analyze mistakes, and I'm going to help you to analyze these mistakes. Authorities are resources, so what can you learn from me? What can you learn from your students? And I want you to make constructive comparisons. So print 6 commandments and just put it on the wall. These are the rules in my classroom. That's number 1. Number 2, this is the beauty. This is the beauty, and I really like it. My brain is like a language muscle. You can do it with kids, you can do it with elementary level, with upper intermediate level. So this is the theme of the lesson, of course, if you have time and if you want. And for these low levels, what you can do is like, you can start with, they can design a poster, because if you want to teach growth mindset, you need to represent brain. It could be like as a muscle. So when you expose them to exercise, it grows. So either they design a poster, like kids or even adults. I usually I design poster with adults in workshops, and they have plenty of fun with designing a poster. So either it could be a group poster, it could be individual poster. The higher the level, you can share an article about neuroplasticity. You can find neuroplasticity in TED Talks. And for really advanced students, you can find research papers on neuroplasticity. And if you have a really scientific research paper and you think like, oh my God, that's a killer. Hey, you've got artificial intelligence. So you just upload this article and you say, can you please change this article so that it would be understandable for my B2 plus students? Okay. And well, depending on the AI, they have the capacity to transform this scientific article. So you decide. The one at the bottom, this like dear letter, and this is like, I found it. This is my inspiration from today. Like, I was attending one of the workshops as a student, and the task is to write a letter to yourself. And well, it was a private course, so we wrote the letter in the class. We gave it to the teacher, and the teacher promised to send this letter back to us in 1 year's time. Okay, so this letter should be like, dear me, don't forget, your brain grows every time you try something new. And students explain, why is it so? Why should you believe? And either you can put it somewhere online, and you can share it out with them after a month or a year. You decide. And the sample of since you have AI everywhere, so you can go for real life poster. Students go about taking pictures, or you can, since you know that all the students are using different AI programs, you can say, let's make a contest, or not a contest, let's make a competition. I want you to design your own poster. So you need to be very good at prompt. You can share them how to write good prompts. And they do their individual poster, and they bring the posters to the class, and they are always visible. Because the point is not to show that, hey, only lesson 1 is about growth mindset, and then we forget about it. The point is that it needs to be visible in every lesson so that it will stay with them. So this is the sample that I had to play with some of the AI tools, and this is the result that I got it. Feel free to experiment with it in your own class. The third one is like from draft to the mastery wall, a beauty. And I wish I had a teacher who would show this element. So from draft to the mastery wall. In the lesson, because I'm looking at the time, 15 minutes, we'll manage. In the lesson, you need to explain that the language is not about perfection. Some people could contradict, oh, you need to be perfect. You see, fixed mindset. It's about progress. So it's about constant development. So you introduce this notion. In my class, you'll be evaluated, of course, but I want you to treat language development as progress. So if you want to win, you need to move forward. Then I want you to share an example of a draft, either your personal one from your own studies, or you can ask some student, but I want you to share a draft before being evaluated. So a draft with mistakes. Then I want you to show a feedback and a final version of this particular piece of writing or the recording. So once you show it, then you need to create a table. It could be digital on Google Docs or Jamboard or different platforms that you are using, or it could be very physical, like a board on the wall, and you create 3 categories: initial attempt, feedback revision, and refined version. And of course, it's not the best to ask them to provide whole essays because it's going to be challenging. But you can ask them to write the first paragraph of an essay or the first line of a story. Or it could be like a 20-second of their own recording. But tell them they should perform and they should make mistakes to be very okay. Once it's visible, either if it's a good class, you can introduce peer-to-peer evaluation with a smart feedback. The next session is on feedback. So they provide feedback, and then the students work on this piece of material again, and they provide final version. The idea of this element is to see the progress, because sometimes in language classroom reality, only the final score is visible. No one is looking at all the struggle and all the pain that is happening in between. Just we see the final mark. So this is from draft to wall. If you feel that it works for you, feel free to experiment and edit this activity. The next one is mistake of the week, mistake of a day, and mistake of the month. The question to you: what was the last mistake you made as a teacher? And if you could share it within the chat. The last mistake you made as a teacher in your teaching reality. Is there anyone? What was the last mistake you made? Okay, I categorize schools. I pronounced the word incorrectly, and then I did the word collocation. Yes. I made a mistake with my lesson plan, Claire. Lack of patience, time management. Yes, super. So please remember that in fixed mindset realities, mistakes mean that you lack something as a person. Spelling, phrasal verb. I always misspell success. In incremental and growth mindset reality, the mistakes are just invitation to progress. So as a teacher, you don't have to be perfect all the time, and you don't have to hide your mistakes. So you can do it like by the end of every lesson or by the end of every week, depending on time you have. You could devote some 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on the time of a lesson, or a minute. They can write it down, they can type it, that they share the mistakes they made in the text, in the reading, in the listening, the challenge, something that they failed, and they are not being evaluated. The only way is that you bring the mistakes to say that, hey, this is the natural process. And remember, because if you look at the poster that we designed last month, your brain is like your language is like your brain is like a muscle. It grows with effort. So the fact that you made a mistake, it means that that you need to make an effort to correct it, and you will grow. Okay, so mistake of a day, mistake of a month, grammar, listening, writing, speaking, whatever you want. Just put them on the table and do not evaluate them. A quick film for you about mistakes. One of the best in recent years that I heard about being in growth or fixed mindset.
I just asked Bud the exact same question, but I'm curious for you. Do you view this season as a failure?
Oh my God. Uh, okay, because I'm not that up. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get the promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work.
Can you hear the voice? Just type yes. Yes, okay.
You work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide a house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success, you know. And if you've never, I don't want to make it personal. So there's always steps to it, you know. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure. That's what you're telling me. No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why are you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports. You know, there's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful. Some days you're not. Some days it's your turn. Some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about. You don't always win. Some other people's gonna win. And this year somebody else is gonna win. Simple as that. We're gonna come back next year, try to be better, try to build good habits, try to play better, not have a 10-day stretch with playing bad basketball, you know, and hopefully we can win a championship. So 50 years from 1971 to 2021 that we didn't win a championship, it was 50 years of failures? No, it was not. It was steps to it, you know, and we were able to win one. Hopefully we can win another one. You know, sorry that I didn't want to make it personal because you asked me the same question last year, and last year I was in the right mind space to answer that.
Okay, so this is the beauty. This is the beauty of growth mindset. Last year he was not probably trained, or maybe had a different vision. So if you don't succeed, it means that everything you experience is a failure, because these are the steps towards the goal, and the goal could be like a 5-year educational protocol. So sometimes you can even with, I would say, B2 plus students, B1 plus students, I would go for it, especially when you can design a script. Some of you asked the name. So once you'll get the takeaway from me, I will put the name of this basketball player. So you'll be able to download and to find this element online and to use it in your language. So just because of the fact that you don't experience success, it doesn't mean that every lesson is a failure. You are just learning, and it's a natural that there will be ups and downs. And the element, like, how can you evaluate progress? Because it's difficult to evaluate progress, because it's easy to evaluate the score. You calculate the number, but how can you evaluate progress, and how can you evaluate growth mindset? Feel free to take a sentence or two, or you can design your own checklist, and to have it, you can print it. It could be digital on your mobile, or it could be visible, printed, presented on the projector. So this is about the process, not the result, the checklist. By the end of a lesson, or you can do it like by the end of the week, by the end of the month, the students, they give a tick of the things that they think they performed well. So I managed to stay focused throughout the whole lesson. Yeah, I managed to fight distractions. I was trying different ways to solve problems. I could fail, but I was trying to do 1, 2, or 3 strategies. Okay, I was using goals, and I was asking for help to my colleague, to my professor. So this is one of the ways that you can show your students how they can measure the process, not only the final result. So the process checklist, you can take a sentence too, depending on the time. And by the end of the lesson, by the end of the month, by the end of the semester, you could spend some time talking about the process so that you will shift the attention from the result to the thing that actually is most important when it comes to developing this language muscle, which is the process. And for those who like teaching advanced students, the lesson starters, you open the language course book, you've got, I don't know, 12 units. Before the semester, either you use online articles, you use AI help, you use scientific magazines, depending what you want, and you design for every lesson or for every week or for every month a sentence starter, which will be presented on the projector. And here, this is the sample. Okay, so these are the random sentences, but I wanted to have them like advanced vocabulary, so B2 plus, closer to C1, not to the A2 or A1 level. And you present one sentence only. The mastery is often preceded by discomfort, cognitive dissonance, and perceived failure. And you present it and you have students talk about it. That's number one. Number two, you ask them to paraphrase. So a beautiful homework, a challenging homework to paraphrase. Number three, you, I don't know, do gut feel activities. You take up the word and you try them to guess the word, or you do the multiple choice. And play with the sentences depending on the language level. If you're taking B2 plus or C1, just go for the challenge. So let them see the true beauty of the language and let them think. So you can have a debate, agree or disagree, but if you disagree or agree, bring the evidence, scientific evidence on the table. Paraphrase it in as many ways as possible. Multiple choice, and you designed it at the very beginning of the semester, 12 sentences, and you've got a beautiful and soft reminder of growth mindset on almost every lesson. Okay, so this is the situation for the advanced group. And the final one, when you evaluate the tests, because we'll be evaluating tests from time to time, whether we want it or not. And I remember my professor, he used to design it, and that's for sure, but it's not the same image. But he used to design a big red stamp. And when he was evaluating our tests, and they were really hard because it was one of the most challenging courses I attended, he was just giving like the red stamp, like failed. And he was pretty happy about it. And I was okay because I had a different mental structure, but some students suffered. So instead of doing this stamp, how about designing a stamp? I would change the color on second thoughts when I'm looking at it. Instead of failing, I would just change the stamp like not yet. And if you evaluate something physically and you put an F or a B or a C, so if it's an F, instead of F, you just make a stamp. And I think it's not super expensive to design a stamp or a sticker or a digital stamp, and just you put a not yet. It shows that the very fact that you are not successful at this moment, it doesn't mean that you will not get there. Okay? Or in progress, Victoria, the same. Feel free to experiment. Okay. So to wrap things up, we started off with the self-fulfilling prophecy. Please remember, it's not a huge effect, but this effect is confirmed by science, that the way you behave can initiate the other side's behavior. Then we have incremental belief and entity belief. I hope that you already know now how they see difficulty, what is the reason of this difficulty, how do they react, what's their emotional reactions, what's their motivation. So please remember that this growth mindset, it's not only about trying hard, it's about being responsive to feedback, it's about willing to implement changes. And it's about this belief that you can train your muscle. And then there were 6 situations that you should pay attention close when you deal with something which you value, that is challenging, when you evaluate your progress, when you make mistakes, when you're experiencing or you give praise or criticism, or when you listen about success and failures. So these are the situations that usually show which mindset is closer to you. Then we had several lesson strategies. Your brain is like a muscle, okay? You design a poster, you ask them to read an article about neuroplasticity, and so on, so on. Then we have from draft to mastery. Show students present their drafts and present the result after the feedback. Okay, then we had a strategy on mistakes: mistake of the month, mistake of a week, mistake of a day. So feel free to experiment with this one as well. Then we had the lesson starters. So instead of just following the instruction, design the lesson starter with those sentences and just introduce the growth mindset continually on a daily basis. And the final one is, since you will be teaching and you will be shaping someone else's future by being the best possible version of yourself, from time to time, it's good to see the reflection of who you are and what's your mindset, and trying to be honest that, okay, I'm close to fixed. That's the way it is. But then I want you to take action to try to modify this mindset, either by mentoring, coaching sessions, or by peer feedback. Like you meet with your fellow teachers and say, hey, I'm struggling because I think that I cannot do it because I don't have it. Let's work towards growth mindset orientation. Okay, so this is the final part. More webinars with this topic, please, Maria. Okay, so the next one will be on feedback. So this develop series, it's inextricably linked. So we started with curiosity. Today we had growth, and we finish off with feedback. And so these are very close to each other. And these are those, I would say, maybe fundamentals if you want to have this good exam preparation reality. Because you can have endless question type practice, but there is something more in exam preparation than just the question type practice. So feel free to scan the QR code and register for the next session in a 1 month time. And I guess by tomorrow or by the end of the week, but I would say by tomorrow, you will get from me a feedback form and a PDF takeaway with some bullet points that I think are worth remembering. And just put them into practice, experiment with those strategies. I want you to fail a lot, and I want you to learn from these failures. And just to tell your students, you see, I failed the first time I did this lesson with AI, and I learned from it, and now I'm on a completely different level. And this is the reason that I believe in growth mindset. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for this wonderful interaction. I hope that you're gonna have good day. Is the recording? Yes, the recording. I owe you 2 recordings, so we'll aim to add these 2 recordings to the Teacher Training Academy website, so you'll be able to see the recording and just to refresh the knowledge or check the lesson strategies in case you want to put them into practice. And I hope that you will put them into practice. Thank you. So the link, the feedback link, you will receive on email by tomorrow. Okay. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of the day and see you next month. Bye-bye.